if you look at the 12-month run rate of the box office from April 1 of this year, when Minecraft came out, to next March, which is when Avatar 3 will still be in theaters, still selling tickets into its mid-December release date. I think the box office is going to be pushing between $10 and $10.5 billion over the 12 months, April to March.
That clip coming to us from Liz Clayman's Countdown on Fox News, where she interviewed AMC CEO Adam Aron, and CEO Aron made a prediction that if we look at the 12-month period from April 2025 to end of March 2026, that the domestic box office they are expecting will come in between $10 and $10.5 billion. I want to talk with you guys in this video about that. But first, let's listen to a couple of the smaller points, and I got a couple of thoughts to share with you.
Here you go. You see a guy who says, let's get going. You've got to be thrilled that he says he's looking at theatrical releases versus straight to streaming.
Liz Clayman there talking about David Ellison, the CEO of the new Paramount Skydance Corporation. There is a new ticker following the $8 billion merger of Skydance and Paramount just about 10 days ago. The ticker, if you want to follow this company, is PSKY, P Sky, Paramount Skydance. And I would recommend that you add that to your watch list if you're following entertainment stocks like I am. CEO Ellison saying that they are not going to be focusing on streaming, and even more bullish for the industry as a whole. Even though they didn't commit to what year we would see the fruits of this on the big silver screen, Paramount Skydance is committing to increasing their production of big cinema movies from 8 per year to 20 per year. And if you consider some of the movies that David Ellison has been responsible for over the years, you understand why this is a big deal. You know, it's going to come down to timing. More movies, the better for everybody in the industry, but AMC specifically. So, Mr. Ellison, put the pedal to the metal, my friend. We need some movies. They talked briefly about the Q2 2025 results, how they were dramatically improved from a year ago, which we would expect because Q2 a year ago was not a great quarter. But more importantly, now we know, under the new cost structure that AMC has, exactly what level of box office domestically is needed to have the company create a profitable GAAP earnings. And we had $2.67 billion for domestic box office. The company on GAAP earnings lost $4 million. So anything above that on a quarter, I would expect, as long as the cost structure remains the same, should be profitable. And of course, as long as AMC is maintaining its market share. As it grows market share, as it continues to cut underperforming locations, then I think there is reason to expect that the profitability grows per quarter as long as the box office continues to grow. And that dovetails nicely with the next line of questioning that Liz Clayman went into with Adam Aron, the forecast for the 12 months ahead.
This leads me to the question about forecasting. The accounting firm PwC said box office grosses will not return to pre-pandemic levels until 2029. What do you say about that? What is your prediction?
Well, they might be right about that, by the way.
I just want to interject here real quick. I think Liz Clayman misspoke, because if you read the report from PricewaterhouseCoopers, they say, as the Hollywood Reporter got correct on their headline, box office grosses will not return to pre-COVID levels even by 2029. PwC is not expecting the box office to hit pre-COVID levels until 2030. And there is a fine debate to be had about whether or not their forecast is accurate. I have no way of knowing that. I mean, everybody's going to have a different opinion, and that is totally fine with me. It is just something to talk about and consider right now until we get the next opinion from the supposed experts out there.
But what I really say about that, it doesn't matter to us, because the most important statistic is that comes out of what we've done in running this company since COVID. We got AMC in a position where it is hyper efficient, and our profit per patron, our contribution per patron, now in the most recent quarter was up 48% above what our profit per patron was going into COVID. So we don't actually need the box office to come all the way back up to pre-COVID levels for AMC to be delivering pre-COVID levels of EBITDA. And that's because there's so much operating leverage in the business. That's because we've taken out a lot of cost.
Love him or hate him, and the opinions out there are varied and wide. I get it. I'm not here to change your opinion. If you love him or hate him, that is fine with me. Love him or hate him, though, he is speaking the truth. The company does not need $3.1, $3.2 billion box office domestically to turn a profit. We saw 2 quarters in 2023, right around the same level as Q2 2025, where the company did turn a profit. The expense side of the equation has gone up a little bit since then with some debt restructuring, some increased interest expense, and inflation. But the company is continuing to cut costs, reduce debt, reduce money-losing locations. And if, as the experts are saying, the box office continues to grow, could AMC finally grow into a point where they're starting to turn every quarter profitable? That is what we will have to wait and find out over the next 5 quarters or so. 2026 is going to be an interesting ride to watch.
Consumers are buying about 80% more food, drink, and merchandise now on a per head basis than they did pre-COVID. And that's a very high margin business for us.
You know, I still see this small contingency of AMC investors out there on social media telling people, do not buy food and concessions, do not buy merchandise. And, you know, I just don't get that. You can hear the CEO tell you with his own voice that these are high margin contributions to the company's success. I am an A-list member at AMC, and we spend a lot of money on food and drink when we go, because that is a solid way to contribute to the success of this company. It has nothing to do with whether or not you buy the stock, whether you own the stock, whether you hold it. I'm not talking about trading the stock. I'm talking about, you know, patronizing businesses that you are invested in is a valid way to contribute to the success of the business as well as the shareholders.
You know, and I mentioned merchandise is one of those little items in there. 3 years ago, we didn't have a merchandise business. And like literally nothing. It was zero. We sold no movie-themed merchandise. Just in the month of July, we sold $11 million worth of movie-themed merchandise.
What are you talking about merchandise? T-shirts?
What they are is they are popcorn holders that are sold at our concession stands that have all sorts of interesting shapes. With $11 million of sales in 1 month, that's going to be a $100 million a year business for AMC. And that's a business that literally did not even exist 3 years ago.
Okay, that's a headline.
It is always interesting to me when we get these extra little data points about the things like merchandise sales, how much revenue is coming in from that. He mentioned $11 million in the month of July, and that merch could contribute at some point soon $100 million to AMC's revenue. That is definitely not an amount to scoff at. And a hat tip to all of you that are buying that merch. I've got a couple of popcorn bucket collector's items back there myself. You guys know I'm a numbers guy, and so when they were talking about that 12-month forecast, April 2025 to end of March 2026, with a goal of $10 to $10.5 billion of box office, I immediately had to run and create my little spreadsheet to estimate how much do we need per month to make that happen, because, you know, in the totality, that should be, you know, some break-even quarters, some profitable quarters, and it comes down to about 840 million per month on average. Now, there are going to be slow months where we don't hit that number, and there are going to be some blockbuster months. I think the blockbuster months start around Thanksgiving, and you know, hopefully they continue on through the beginning of 2026 as we have some of these carryover movies from the end of 2025. So I'm going to be watching that. It's just an interesting little data point. And the other thing to think about, $10.5 billion box office gets us right around 2.62 billion per quarter on average, which is very close to that break-even number that we saw on the income statement. And so that's just another little thing to think about. Even if the box office is $10.5 billion, some of the quarters are going to be profitable, some are going to be break even. And go see some movies. Thank you for watching, guys. I am Tony Denaro, and I will see you on the next video.